we've got a problem with online content, not the creation side of things, but the content itself and the association with a consumer, where we have features and those features are kind of being phased out for other reasons, where a person can like or can share. And there is an assumption by people who are oppressive to, well, the idea of liking and sharing, the idea of free consumption, where liking is agreement and favoriting is approval. But liking a video, for example, is not agreement with it as a whole, its conclusions, or any part of it. It isn't. And favoriting something or sharing something isn't approving of it and isn't an explicit desire to propagate an idea in order to have it succeed in the world. And if it's a complex idea for you personally to grapple with, I mean, that says a lot. That says a lot about you. If you think somebody sharing something means that they agree with it. Now, sharing something blindly with no explanation, I get how I could make an argument, like we could have a good argument talking about how blind, uncommentated sharing is propagation for the explicit reason of seeking agreement. Because the person who made the content in the first place is probably trying to convince or trying to share or trying to pull out agreement in others. And so by somebody else acting as a conduit, they're presenting that possibility to draw in more of an audience for the original creator, to get more of the original creator's confirmation or education or whatever the presentation get. They amplify, they take that and they turn that one beam that hit them and that person who is sharing propagated it out like a cone into a wider area. They talk about like putting a spotlight on stuff. That topic has an argument. Okay, I'm not making that argument right now. But I don't think it's absolutely certain that it's agreement. I think there's just an assumption that it's agreement. I can take, for example, somebody doing or saying something dumb. It's current, so it's not like I'm dredging up something from a person's past in order to play pretend that that person is like that now, because that would be a lie. That is not true. I'm talking about something somebody made yesterday. Content producer who, with intention, created something for the express purpose of them sharing it. And if I were to take that and I were to propagate it out, it isn't necessarily that I'm signal boosting as a way of pulling out agreement from other people. It could just be that I'm making fun of that person. Like, look at what that person currently believed and created and presented. Just check this out. This is hilarious stuff. There's a lot of that. And a lot of people will pull in clips of somebody being wrong, at least in their bubble, and they'll commentate around it, and the commentation around it isn't supporting it. It's just there as a way of them adding value to it, and they will propagate themselves out, having taken that original content and taken it, made it mostly their own, and they send themselves out. That's not them taking the original stuff. That is explicitly not them taking the original stuff and propagating it out in order to have that original author's intent projected out into a broader audience. That content has a dead end, there is a transformative work that makes it this person's own, and this person is propagating it out. It has nothing to do with this person anymore. They essentially, that middleman is is kind of parasitic to this. Who's listening to this, like people that do news commentating. It's they're not propagating the original idea blindly as a way of being a signal booster, conveying that original stuff. They're creating a transformative work that builds on top of that source. And even if that person is agreeing, they're still not really signal boosting the origins. They're signal boosting their own version of the ideas that happen to have been prompted by that other thing. And so by me flagging something as a favorite might not mean anything. It might just mean I want to follow up on this in the future, or this made my day. Now, I could come across some really stupid video and I could favorite it. It's just like, and you asked me in 10 years, oh, you agreed with this thing. First off, that was 10 years ago. But if you said, oh, it was yesterday, oh, you favorited this thing, you have current beliefs like this, I could just be like, go check that out. That's hilarious stuff. You should go actually watch that in its entirety. Or maybe that had one single idea, and I really appreciate that this person shared it, because it was all wrong but for one thing. And I favorite it as a way of saying, continue doing what you're doing, because for that one idea, you were on the right track, in my opinion. And so I could do that as a way of encouraging someone. And I could absolutely hate your guts, absolutely, and your ideas are just bad, objectively bad and wrong, and you're doing evil in the world. But you make a video, and I watch the video, and I try to not laugh while I'm watching your awful, awful video. And you have just a moment. There's a moment in there where I can recognize the seed of your improvement as with those ideas. And I favorite it as a way of saying, I'm not telling you what about the video I actually favorite, because it's not the entire thing. In that case, my favorite just means like, do more like that. And then the next one, if it has that a seed like that, or that seed, I'll favorite it again. Just continue doing that. It's okay. Continue. Now, I'm not necessarily, morally speaking, I should probably make a response video or something like that, and actually cut away all of the nonsense and leave the seed, or take that seed out and specifically create encouragement for that. Maybe morally speaking, as a content creator should do that. I get that. And maybe that's what people have as the argument, where you shouldn't signal boost. You need to cut away everything and absolutely debunk or whatever everything. And then you can take the opportunity of taking one, and people will have a really serious problem with you. Go like, that seed of that idea, which is good, you can't cite that person as having said that. That's a no, because we don't like all these other things. So you can't say that thing, right? There's a lot of problems in that, because if I put a bunch of people in one room, a bunch of strangers in one room, there will be at least a minority of them with a minority of ideas that will absolutely be detestable to one another. They can get along as humans, because we tend to do that. We tend to do that by default, unless we're manipulated by ideologies. We'll tend to get along well enough. And there will still be a seed from any of those people, even in spite of those fundamental, maybe philosophical, religious, ideological differences. There will still be a seed that each one of those people will have that will help or prompt or influence one or more of those other people. Even people that are relatively neutral, that aren't antagonistic to any of the ideas, they'll see that awful politician who has all these awful policies and this terrible history said this really insightful thing about something. Like favorite that presentation to help encourage more of that, or make a thing and identify and give credit where credit is due. Like look at this idiot. They said this one not idiot thing. Like shine a spotlight on it, go, look, even that idiot can do good, just a tiny bit. And you say that, and hopefully they'll find out. Sometimes you can tell somebody something, and they either won't be listening, or it's just, you can't like email that person over there and be like, you had an interesting point over there. I don't quite agree. Like I don't agree with the thing, but it helped me think about maybe this unrelated topic because you had this line of thinking. Just continue it. Like that's fascinating. It was a fascinating, mostly a waste of time, but there was a thing there that was really awesome. And it's the same thing with liking a video. What if I like a video because it's a good video, not because I like the content? Like the humor of that skit was really good, but these are like awkward actors and the plot sucked. And it was just, I'm not going to watch it again, but like I had a great laugh for that one part. And like that made up for the other X number of minutes of wasted time. Like I like it. Like do more of that. But the next time comes around, they don't do that. They're not funny to me. That one gets a thumbs down. As a way of helping them learn. Now it's not really specific. And it's not, I am not ethically obligated to create a response review that cuts it, that breaks it down and says, well, this part was funny, but the rest was complete trash. We don't have enough time to do that kind of thing. And I shouldn't be judged if somebody like goes and looks and sees that I like a particular thing. Like, you don't know why. Maybe it just means like, I laughed at your dumbass opinion. Go do some more. Like, carry on. That was awesome. And it's the same thing with subscribing to somebody. Like, there are people that have been like singled out by their ideological opponents because some person that they don't like today, because they're collectivist and they all chose, for somebody flipped a coin and went to, we're going to have our 2 minutes of hate against that person. They go and look at that person's subscription list or something like that. And that person subscribed to somebody else they don't like for whatever coin flipping stupid reason. Or it could be legitimate. They don't know why that, maybe that person subscribed 10 years ago when that other person was actually part of the in group. When that other person, maybe they were good in the past and did good content. And they just went bad, or whatever. I mean, that's a nice black and white way of presenting this kind of problem. The thought experiment can continue with that kind of thing in mind. Life's complicated. And subscribing to that person, maybe the person doesn't even realize that they've done it. Maybe it was a mistake. Like they were doing something, their cat stepped on their keyboard, whatever. Or maybe it was intentional. That person's like, you know what? Every time this person makes a video or creates content, I want to at least know. So that's a good argument. Is I want to be informed when more content is out. Maybe it ends with that. I want to know how active this person is. I want to know when they crawl out from under their rock, because they went and they were slinking. They became out in the out group. And this person wants to pay attention to that, to see if this person crawls back out into the, not exactly limelight, but maybe they try to get back in and continue their career, their online presence. Or maybe they just want to know, and they want to skim the titles just so they're kind of up on the times, because this person, whatever, they don't want to know what that kind of person's kind of making videos on. Maybe they just don't have time to watch any of the videos. Maybe that subscription represents them being interested enough to actually watch every minute of every single video or every bit of content, consume all of the content. But you don't know why. There can't be any assumption that's because they agree with everything. Maybe they agree with a tiny, maybe there's, of the array of different kinds of content that person puts out, maybe there's one of the things that is worth that, in that person's opinion, watching, consuming. And that's why they're subscribed. You have to subscribe to all this trickle of content in order to get that occasional little bit of interesting thing. So you can't judge that subscription because of the rest of the content that happens to trickle through, right? So you've got some comedian that's just awful, tasteless garbage. All their stand-up stuff is just terrible, but they occasionally have this one, they come to this one club occasionally, and they have a routine that's really good, and they do some experimental stuff, and it's really interesting. You can't judge that subscription based on all the other stuff that's there, all the other badly lit, terrible audio stuff that you can't judge. You can't play pretend like that one subscriber is actually watching any of the rest of the stuff at all, or cares, or likes them, or anything. So these people who have an opinion and are examining somebody's subscription can't actually know anything about anything. And the problem is, if you feel required to judge somebody based on some subscription, you can make something up, and then what's going to happen? You and 100 other people can all align yourselves into making similar opinions about the 2 minute of hate of the day, and examining that subscription. You can just all jump on board with one single assumption, and it could be wrong, and that person can learn about that assumption, learn about that hate, and go like, whoops, I didn't mean to subscribe to that person. Like, oh, sir, then what? All this kind of drama was for nothing? Well, now the drama is going to persist until some new 2 minutes of hate comes along. But that record is going to be there, that incorrect thing. And what does that person have to do? Create an apology video for, like, I'm really sorry about my cat, right? Like, I don't know why I was subscribed to that, or there was this one thing that I liked. Like, what's wrong with that? Why I'm not agreeing with anything. Well, now what do? They have to make a counter content for every single bit of content that they actually, for every person that they're subscribed to. That's absolutely preposterous. That's impossible. So I'm not going to judge you based on what you thumbs up or thumbs down, or what you're subscribed to, because I care about how you respond to my direct engagement, and I care about the things that you create with intention. I care less, although I might care, about the things that you do, kind of, if you were caught on hidden camera or something like that. I can care a little bit about that, because you can, but even then, a person is like, I would rather see a person from the perspective of their will being created as art that's presented to me intentionally, than try to judge them based on stuff that's kind of happening in the dark, because there is an officiality to what a person presents in the real world that is meant to target me as an audience, as an audience member, as opposed to them getting drunk at a bar and just talking something, right? If they present, I mean, there's hypocrisy that I can notice when now I know that person is presenting a lie, that they don't actually believe something, that they're not on board with it, that they're like, catching that is really important. But if they're like crude about stuff that they tend to be on the straight and narrow with presenting, yeah, they're crude about stuff, and I don't. Yeah, that's okay. I think people should be. I should give a person their piece for something like that. So yeah, liking isn't favoriting. Liking isn't agreement. Favoriting isn't agreement. Yeah, and I think it's just people want to spin their wheels and feel like they're part of a group when somebody becomes the target of interest for whatever reason, that you want to judge in degrees of association. But that's a really dangerous thing to do, by examining somebody's by um, gilding intent on top of those kinds of flags, as opposed to examining very direct intended content and drawing the ties to them. Drawing these associational things is just, it ends up being an embarrassing waste of time.